Hi, everybody, and welcome to Cider Week Finger Lakes 2020. It is Thursday. We have had an amazing week so far. So much going on, both virtually and in person. There's been a lot of incredible events, and all the events that have happened so far in person. Actually, I'm sorry, all the events that have happened so far online or virtually, you can check out on our YouTube channel at New York Cider Association TV. We had a phenomenal conversation with a really awesome panel of folks last night around reparations in cider. So I highly recommend you check that out. It's a fantastic conversation and a really great starting point for all the work that we need to be thinking about. But I'm really excited today because we have with us Jenna Levita and Victor Coltinas from Lake Drum Brewing, and they are going to do a happy hour, cider history happy hour, which I thought was just a really great way to get things going tonight and to get us started for the weekend. So, Jenna, I'm just going to kick it off to you, and I'll be behind the scenes if you need anything. But why don't you take it away?
Thanks so much, Scott. Hey, everybody. We're here with John Marks from the Geneva Historical Society, and we just wanted to show you what we do here once a month, usually on Thursdays. It's been a little bit different since the pandemic, but we have a history happy hour that we do in conjunction with the Historical Society. And then we'll be doing a quick discussion afterwards and a tasting of 2 Rosé Ciders. So without further ado, we have the Historical Society for this presentation.
The Haudenosaunee are known for cultivating the 3 sisters, squash, beans, and corn, but fruit was part of their diet as well. For much of their history up to the 1800s, the Seneca and other nations gathered wild fruit. Strawberries were the first fruit after winter. May apples and bushberries followed in the summer, with crab apples, plums, pawpaws, and grapes coming later. Crab apples were roasted in the fire or marinated in maple syrup to give them sweetness. Towns knew where to find fruits, but they didn't claim ownership. Plants and trees grew where seeds were dropped, but there wasn't intentional cultivation until the early 1700s. Europeans began settling in New York in the early 1600s and brought their fruits with them. As Native Americans got seeds and stones, they traded them with other nations and spread them across the territory. European apples, peaches, and pears were embraced by the Seneca, especially the apples. Sweeter than crab apples, they could be eaten raw, cooked, dried, or stored underground in bark barrels. The Seneca moved to towns every 20 to 40 years and let the old towns return to nature. Planting orchards were a long-term investment, but cultivation around here started in the early 1700s. Sadly, most of the information about Seneca orchards came from the September 1779 American Army campaign against the nation. Soldiers were ordered to destroy all trees, crops in the field, or in storage so that the Seneca couldn't survive. Heading north on the east side of Seneca Lake, the troops found not less than 1,500 peach trees at Peachtown, near modern-day Lodi. Further north at Appletown, or Candia, there were hundreds of apple trees. On September 7th, they reached Canadasaga, now Geneva, and found orchards of apple, peach, and mulberry trees surrounded the town. Soldiers tried to kill the trees by girdling the trunks, cutting a horizontal strip of bark to stop the flow of sap, but it didn't work. 20 years later, in 1799, a Genevan wrote, quote, "The apple and peach orchards left by the Indians yield every year an abundance of fruit for the use of the inhabitants, besides making considerable cider. One farmer near Geneva sold cider this year to the amount of $1,200, end quote. Until the 20th century, cider meant fermented or hard cider. Almost everyone drank cider because it was safer. Water with its harmful bacteria could kill you. The alcohol in cider killed the bacteria and made it safe. An apple orchard was valuable and was usually mentioned when the farm was for sale. Surplus cider was a cash crop. Grocery stores would purchase local meat, cheese, flour, cider, and other spirituous liquors to sell. There was debate about whether hard cider was healthful or alcoholic. Teetotalers avoided drinks with any amount of alcohol. During Prohibition from 1920 to 1933, hard cider was illegal and popular. Geneva was surrounded by apple trees, and sweet cider was legal. Hard cider was easy to ferment and sell on a street corner. The wholesale nursery business, the starting and selling of trees, shrubs, and plants, began in Geneva in the 1840s. They sold to new settlers in Western territories because a house wasn't a home without trees, especially fruit trees. These are just a few of the popular apples sold by nurseries in the late 1800s. W&T Smith's 1911 catalog offered 5 pages of apple trees. By 1924, shown here, it was down to 1.5 pages. Today, growers focus on apples that meet consumers' taste demands. However, there are many varieties that may not sell in stores, but are great for cider flavor profiles.
Can take a look back at that last slide. Okay, and we're back. So John, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the Johnny Appleseed myth, or so-called myth, as you were talking to us earlier about?
Yeah, Michael Pollan, a number of years ago in his book, The Botany of Desire, really, he focused on Geneva. He came to Geneva and talks to the people at Cornell with their germplasm bank and all the trees they have up there. But he really also focused on Johnny Appleseed. And he didn't mention that transmission of these fruit trees and plants was happening well before Johnny Appleseed, I'll put it that way. Once the Europeans brought their fruits here, Native Americans, picked them up through trade or whatever, or just like by getting the fruit, and then they dropped a couple of the pits and seeds and saw what came out of it. And they started trading with each other. Just like any great botanical, if you really like what you've got, you say, hey, here, you've got to check out these seeds. And that's what happened. The Great Lakes were interconnected. So really from here around Lake Ontario on out to Ohio and Michigan, tribes were, and nations, I should say, were getting these and just planting them. And that's really how it got going prior to the European American settlement.
Yeah. So another reason why we chose to kind of ask John to be a part of this and do it during Cider Week is we just think it's really important to kind of, once again, give credit to these Native American tribes that started a lot of this agriculture that we rely on and tout so heavily, especially in our industry. I mean, it's this idea of kind of trading seeds, and I guess we're doing it more with actual trees now, but that we base our entire agriculture system off of now. So it's important to kind of look back in through history and see, where everything came from to move forward, I think. So we're also going to try a couple ciders here while we got John in the screen, and hopefully Pia's somewhat cooperative. This one is an Okay, so the first one we're gonna try is our Sumac, and Victor's gonna talk a little bit about the Sumac cider and what makes it so special.
Hey everyone, we've been doing a straight Sumac cider for, I think this is our third year doing it. And straight Sumac by itself is very...
Can you hold this?
Sure.
Pass the baby.
Hey, sorry guys. Yeah, Sumac by itself. So we've done 3 ciders that are just straight Sumac. Where we're going out, we're foraging for the Sumac. It's a staghorn Sumac. We're drying it in a greenhouse. Put out big cloths, and then we soak it in the cider just like you would a tea. This cider we put Concord grapes in it as well, just for some sweetness and for some color. But Sumac, it really is this very tart, acidic, but it's got a lot of sweetness when it's really ripe too. It's the red berries that you see on the side of highways. You see them on the side of farms, and when they're really ripe, they're kind of this dark purpley, like red color. And they're trees. They'll actually grow, significantly tall if they're not cut back and pruned. So it's a really kind of fun thing to gather and to take care of, and add to cider.
And John, isn't that something?
I'm sorry.
So John, isn't that also something that Native Americans used a little bit in?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I know a little less about that.
Okay.
I will give a quick plug if you really want to know more about Native American and Haudenosaunee history. Ganondagan is a state historic site over by Victor, and I think if you just type it as phonetically as you can, you'll probably find a lot of great information there.
But it's a great museum just to check out too. The architecture of the building's beautiful. The grounds are really beautiful. They do a lot of events there too, which kind of are fun to attend. Very kind of family-friendly events. And
they're doing a lot with native agriculture and native plants as well.
Yeah, I guess I just want to say one thing on seeds. So we're not trading just apple seeds per se. Some people are, and that's kind of a way of growing apple farms again. Is just kind of sprinkling out your seeds, and it's more of this artistic or the Indian orchard. As John was telling us earlier, like of a way of going about it, just because you don't know what you're going to come across. A seed from a tree is different than the tree that you're actually planting from that seed. You're getting it's a complete wild card.
So does that mean it's like really diverse? A lot of diversity?
Yeah, it's diverse, but it's it's a real scramble for what you're going to get, like in the tree. So it's just kind of. It's an idea that's kind of like romantic, I think, and it's this beautiful idea of planting an orchard or just planting trees in a way that you're not really sure what you're going to get, instead of this, like every tree is 4 inches apart and it's done in rows and you spray them all the time, and it's a beautiful idea, I think, that we're starting to see more of. I know the guy up at Fedco Seeds is doing a lot of that, like up in Maine. But yeah, sharing seeds is more important almost for vegetables and for farmers, for creating food banks.
Yeah, and in the 1800s, as European American settlers started coming out this way, if they saw an old orchard that was kind of haphazard, as Victor said, the rows weren't straight, it didn't look like they'd been grafted, they'd say, oh, that's an Indian orchard. So it was kind of a derogatory term because there is still this very European idea of, things are in rows. And also an idea of ownership. In Europe, if you had an orchard, it was yours. Nobody else could touch the trees or take the fruit. And the Haudenosaunee and the Seneca Nation weren't like that at all. They might know where a great berry patch was, but that didn't mean they owned it.
And just one other interesting fact, I guess, about Native Americans is that's how we came up with our name of Lake Drum. And it has to do with like an old, I guess there's a lot of different stories about the lake drums or the lake guns, like Seneca guns that you hear, big booming noises on Seneca Lake. But one of the stories goes about a Native American that was kind of banned by his tribe because he started to take ownership of too many different things. And so he was, I guess, destined to paddle around the lake for the eternity of time.
Yes, so it's a story of a guy that was just a fisherman, and he was so good at fishing that he overfished. Yeah. And there were certain like designated times where they were supposed to be fishing, and he tended to fish all the time because he was good at it, and he probably liked to eat fish. So the Seneca Lake god, the legend that we know is as the Seneca Lake god banished him to the lake in the form of a log for 1,000 winters, and so the log drifts up and down the lake, and every time he tries to get out, that's that booming noise. The Seneca Lake god yelling back at him, "You stay in that water. Your time's not over yet." Yeah.
Okay, so before we run out of time, we want to try our other rosé cider. So I'll give you a key of that right there.
Glass.
And I'll sit down here. And so this one's actually made with Lemberger or Blaufränkisch grapes. And what we did was make the cider and actually added, as we put the cider into the press to be pressed, we added some of the grape skins to the press just for a really short amount of time to extract some color. And we actually let it sit for a little bit, maybe overnight, to get this really deep, rich red color. And kind of it has a little bit more of that grapey aroma compared to the last one, and it's just off dry. But rosés have become really popular, and with our kind of link to the wine industry, it's something that we wanted to do a little bit more of. But the reason we're trying it with this Sumac cider is, again, to kind of give props, I guess, to Native American traditions with using grapes and different types of fruit in some of our products. And I guess.
Yeah, I would just say the one other thing that's not a rosé that we do a lavender elderberry cider. So we use local elderberries, and that just gives it a real kind of tannic backbone, which is what you get out of the Lemberger, a rosé is this real kind of tannic back end, whereas the Sumac one is just this acidic, bright, kind of fresh tasting cider. There's a big contrast to them, although they look very similar. They definitely taste very different.
So is there anything else you'd like to add, John, from the Historical Society?
I don't think so. If you want to learn more about Geneva, our website is www.genevahistoricalsociety.com. We have all kinds of videos, and actually a lot of the past history happy hours have been turned into videos.
Yeah.
So you can go and check out our site and take a look at them.
And we really appreciate you helping us out, John. We don't know where we'd be without you.
Not at all. Y'all have helped us too with some of our fundraisers and other activities. We appreciate you.
So, Scott, we're going to invite you back in here just to send us out.
Excellent.
Everyone got a chance to check out the slideshow, and if not, it'll be available afterwards, right? For people to keep
That's correct.
seeing?
Yeah, that's correct. So we'll have it up on our YouTube channel at New York Cider Association TV. So you can absolutely check it out there. This replay will be there as well. So we'll put them both up. And Jenna, I wanted to ask you, how frequently do you guys have John come down frequently for?
Usually every month. Sorry, a big truck just went by. It's usually every month we do a history happy hour. But
yeah, the quarantine is really, it's one of those activities really not just the same doing it virtually. So we're really looking forward to being able to get a few people back in the brewery again, because it's really the interaction that makes it special.
But I really would encourage everyone to check out if it's on the Historical Society website, or where would we be able to see past ones?
Yeah, if you go to GenevaHistoricalSociety.com, click on collections and digital collections, there is a video section there.
Okay, and that's, they can check out more of the past ones, and they're all really interesting.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. I'll be sure and put that link in the YouTube description as well, so it'll sit there with that.
Okay, great.
Before we go, I wanted to mention, Julie Kuniff wrote in and asked a question, and her question is, do you get the health benefits of elderberry as well?
Hi, Julie. We do believe you get some health benefits from it, but there's no, I guess, concrete science we know of. But it definitely tastes pretty good going down and makes us feel better, especially when it gets to be a little bit colder and we're starting to feel sick. We definitely feel like it kind of wards off. And Victor's saying ginger too, but we don't have a ginger cider right now. So.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks, Julie, for the question.
It's a great question. Great question. Well, Jenna and Victor and John, thank you all so much. This has been really fantastic. I want to encourage everybody, like I said, this video will be up at New York Cider Association TV over on YouTube. It also sits on all of our Facebook pages, so Jenna will be right there on your Lake Drum Facebook page as well. And there's still so much more to come for Cider Week. We're just heading into the final weekend, so check out ciderweekflx.com for more in-person events and online virtual events. Still a lot more to come. So thanks again, Jenna, and we will see you soon.
Okay, see you later. Thanks.
Take care.
Cider Week Finger Lakes is brought to you by the New York Cider Association and is made possible by the generous support of our sponsors.